Peace, family. Welcome to the War on Gaza report. Here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we try to keep daily track of everything going on in Israel's war on Gaza. That's right. Since October 7th, 2023, Israel has launched a full-out genocidal war on the Palestinian people. And we want to tell the story that mainstream media won't tell. We want to give the information and the coverage that corporate outlets just won't provide. And so we do this. And tonight, sadly, we've reached day 338 of Israel's ongoing war in Gaza. So we'll talk about that. And hopefully you caught our office hour session with Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, who broke down for the second week in a row the kind of history and the origins. He demystified some of the dominant narratives around Zionism, both historically and in the present. He did a masterclass. If you didn't see that, check out office hours where you can see all of it. But in the meantime, I want to shout out some of you who have been here helping us with the War on Gaza report by supporting us, not just financially, but showing up, being in the comments, doing the work. People like Rachel from Massachusetts who've been here, Jazz LP, of course, Ebony, who is a wonderful sister. Assalamu alaikum, just roots for the wrong teams. Welcome, little Miss 222 Sahora. Good to see you. Chef Shia, good to see you as always. Rachel, again, good to see you. D'Angelo Trowick, thank you so much for the kind words. I know I saw Rolando in here. I know Rosability is here. These are lies the Jazz LP is telling. Megay 62, so good to see you. Of course, my dear brother Jordan Taylor. We haven't seen you in a while, good brother, but we love you when we see you. We're excited when we see you. We know you're always here supporting us, even when we can't. Even when we can't see you, we know you're riding. And I get the texts, I get the notes, so it's always good to know that the other people can now see what I see all the time, which is your constant, consistent support and love, brother. I appreciate you. That said, let's get to it. We're going to begin where we always begin. And that is with the numbers. As of today, 40,972 people have been killed since October 7th in Gaza. Again, 40,972 people have been killed. In addition to that, we're looking at injuries at 94,761. So 40,972 people have been killed. 94,761 have been wounded in Israel's war on Gaza. Of course, in Israel, the number of people killed in the Hamas-led attacks on October 7th remains at 1,139, while more than a couple hundred people were taken captive. So those are the numbers. We begin in Gaza a new school year. Tomorrow, or what is now today in Gaza, it's 10:40 p.m. here. It's about, in Palestine in general, it's somewhere around 5:40 or 4:40, depending on where you are. But they won't be starting the school year. 630,000 students in Gaza will not be returning to school. The reason why those people won't be returning to school is because every school building has been closed at best. What do I mean by that? I mean, 80% of them have been destroyed. 100% of the colleges and universities have been destroyed. But 80% are either completely destroyed or have been decimated so thoroughly that you couldn't attend them anyway. But since October 7th of last year, no school has been open. This is why we talk about this idea of scholasticide, which is a term that has emerged in the last 15 years to help us understand what's happening in Gaza. And the term, sometimes to me, oversimplified or underdeveloped to the extent that we only talk about it as a kind of destruction of the system. But what scholasticide has done is not just shut down the school system so that people can't go to school. It doesn't just dismantle the Palestinian education system. It dismantles the ideas. It dismantles the carrying on of tradition. It dismantles the out-of-school knowledge that gets transferred through an artifact or through a museum or through a cemetery. it's an attack on the people, not just the structure, but the people. When we think about people like Rifat El Arir, who was killed, he's one of hundreds, if not thousands, of Palestinian intellectuals and political leaders who have been targeted and executed by the state in a form of politicide. We look at the destruction of museums and artifacts, archives. All of it connects with the destruction of the school and the destruction of the Palestinian student and teacher body, literally, not the student body like the populace, but the actual body. All of this is what's happening right now in Palestine. So 630,000 students will not be going to school. Hundreds of thousands will not be completing their Tojihi year, which means they can't even leave to go to university because they don't have the certification. All of this is a part of what's going on in Palestine that we have to think about and that we often don't talk about. So just something that's something to talk about. There's a question that comes in right now, by the way, about the number counting. This is also a stale number, correct? Actual counting has become impossible. That's not untrue. What Chef Shaya is saying is accurate. That the numbers are woefully undercounted. The 40,972 number that I quoted is based on the Gazan Health Ministry. I think the thing we have to remember is it's not a completely accurate number, but it's a low number because the people on the other side of the aisle or the other side of this issue are saying, "Oh, that's an inflated number. They're exaggerating." They are not exaggerating. The Gazan Health number is accurate. It's based on, for example, there's another 10,000 to 15, maybe even 20,000 now bodies in the rubble. But because they haven't been fully identified, they're not part of the official count, but we know that it's a low estimate. It's also, these are also direct killings. It doesn't count people who die from circumstances produced by the war. For example, if a building collapses and then I inhale large amounts of smoke and I die 2 weeks later from the inhalation, that doesn't, the people in the building who got killed count toward the death toll. The people outside don't. That's what the Lancet study was saying, is that when you talk about the indirect causes or the direct, the one step away causes, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die because of this war on the Palestinian people, to be clear. And so you're right, the numbers aren't high enough. The numbers they lack a little accuracy, but they're too low, not too high. I just want to make that clear for other people. Also, the Jisr, as we call it, the King Hussein Bridge, formerly known as the Allenby Bridge. Y'all know who, if you know a little bit of history of British colonialism, you understand why I don't like calling it the Allenby Bridge. But the King Hussein Bridge, crossing between the occupied West Bank and Jordan, it will reopen Monday morning after a brief closure over an attack that killed 3 Israeli security guards. The gunman has been identified as a Jordanian citizen. Jordanian citizen doesn't necessarily mean what you might think it does, though. We could talk about that. Let's talk a little bit more about some other things. 3 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli attack on a Nuseirat. The Palestinian Civil Defense said that rescuers have recovered the bodies of 3 people after an Israeli air attack on a home in the Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza. According to Wafa, citing medical sources, at least 7 others have also been wounded. Also, earlier this evening, a Palestinian child was killed in an attack on the Tifa neighborhood in Gaza City. Again, 3 people killed after an air attack on a home. I don't have, because they haven't released it yet, the full information on this attack. We don't know why it happened. We don't know the who, what, when, where, and why of it. But here's what we do know. Give me 1 second here. Here's what we do know. Many of the attacks on Palestinian homes have not been proven to have a clear military objective. In other words, they will say, "Oh yeah, we bombed this home because it had a military objective, i.e., there was a Hamas leader, or there was a combatant there, a significant combatant there. But what recent history has shown, I'm talking about the last 9 months, is that no, these things never bear out. No, that's not true. They rarely bear out. That the Israeli military rarely demonstrates the military objective. Force seems indiscriminate, or the attack seems indiscriminate. The force seems disproportionate, and little effort is made to protect. Little effort is made to protect the innocent. You know, all the stuff about roof knocking and evacuation time and all that stuff is absolutely not the case anymore. I want to show you something that just came out. It's literally popping up in my feed as I'm talking to you, which is why I'm showing it to you now and not before. I want to show you this because I find it so disgusting and so disturbing. This is an image released by the Ministry of Education and Higher Education in Palestine. It's and it goes to what we were talking about just a moment ago, just for context, and that is this image, right? Allahu Akbar. They were showing this image: Gaza schools, a year of transformation from joyful innocence to malice and genocide. You can see here a Palestinian school largely administered by UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency. You see Palestinian children a year ago. And now in the aftermath of October 7th, you see many of these images. Look at this. Israeli soldiers making a mockery of the fact that Palestinian children are not getting access to school, sitting in their seats, laughing, smirking, holding assault weapons. And as you see, it doesn't matter if they're on the right. This might be a Mizrahi. This might be an Ashkenazi. This may be a Beta Israel. I'm assuming all three of those to be true. Point being, the Zionist ideology is not bound by race. It's not bound by skin color. Equal opportunity, just malice here in this image. And we've seen images of Palestinian libraries being burned. All of these things. It's shame. It's a shame. It's shameful. But I digress. We'll get back to the other part of what I was saying, which is just how disturbing the numbers are, and how indiscriminate many of the attacks have been. In addition, God, just there are so many things that I want to say. There's so many things that I want to say. But we'll do it for another time. I don't want to get sidetracked, but I'm very disturbed by much of what we've seen. Anyway, Al Jazeera Arabic, it has issued a report saying that there have been clashes, and I hate that word, clashes. No disrespect to my colleagues at Al Jazeera, but clashes, just they assign a level of parity and evenness to these resistance efforts that I don't like. But our colleagues at Al Jazeera Arabic are reporting clashes between Palestinian fighters and Israeli soldiers in the Tulkarem refugee camp in the occupied West Bank after Israel's military launched another raid on the area earlier this week. The raid came after Israeli forces laid siege to Tulkarem for 10 days, killing several Palestinians, destroying roads, destroying infrastructure across the camp, including water and power networks. Now, also in Balata, which is another camp, the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, that's a Palestinian armed resistance group, said that its fighters targeted raiding Israeli troops with a dense barrage of bullets and were engaged in violent clashes with them. The point here, the takeaway here that I think you have to understand you have to understand that the West Bank is under recently unprecedented attacks. This is not restricted to Gaza. This is not restricted to what's happening in the Gaza Strip. This is you can't protect you can't excuse this with Hamas. At some point, you have to acknowledge that what's happening in the West Bank is a crime as well. And you don't have the kind of verbal tick of just saying, well, Hamas, right? How do you explain the raids in Tulkarm and Tulkarm and Jenin? How do you defend stripping people naked? How do you defend killing unarmed people? How do you defend nightly raids by soldiers? How do you defend that? How do you explain that? How do you justify that? That's the question. And they ain't given a good answer yet. They have not given a good answer yet. I want to talk about, I've been talking about the West Bank for the last moment, but now I want to go back to Gaza, particularly the southern region, because there is another image here that I think you need to see. And I don't often show images here, but tonight I am. And this is, because I think just the reporting, sometimes we lose sight of the devastation. I want you to look at this. And do you see what's happening here? This is a building that has been completely destroyed, right? And this is a residential building in Khan Yunis. Khan Yunis is the southern part of the Gaza Strip, and this is the southeastern part of Khan Yunis. And in the southern part of Khan Yunis is what you're seeing here, which is a residential home being destroyed. 3 missiles were launched by Israeli fighter jets, and several buildings have been destroyed in the aftermath of that. I could show you more, but the point is, again, Israel's bombing residential buildings, lots of innocent people there, lots of danger. As of now, we already know 2 people were killed, a mother and a child. And the sad part is, on a day like today, if I only report 2 people got killed here and 9 got killed there and 2 got, it'll seem like a slow day, and it will be to some extent, right? But that says more about the devastation and the absurdity of these attacks than it does the any kind of drop off in barbarity, in evil. What Israel is doing in the Gaza Strip has decimated the Gaza Strip, and it is it's tough to witness. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you. We'll get at more numbers later, but I wanted to give you some context for what's happening. The Palestinian Ministry of Education said that it is going to try to launch e-learning opportunities and provide classes in tents as students in Gaza enter their 2nd year without schooling. We've been talking about sort of the devastation of the system, but understand that the Palestinian Ministry of Education is trying to create some opportunities here. We talked about the southern part of Gaza being hit, but we also have to talk about other people who have been hit. Yesterday, 33 people were killed in Khan Yunis. I talked about 2 today. That's the day after 33 people have been killed. And according to Lebanon's, it's the final thing I'll say before I let y'all go. Lebanon's Foreign Minister Abdullah Abu Habib spoke to Al Jazeera and said that Israel has conveyed that it is not interested in a ceasefire with Lebanon, even if an agreement is reached in Gaza. So we're looking at regional conflict that's not going to stop any time soon. All right, family, that is the War on Gaza report. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank Kime Abuyada Acosta, my dear comrade, for gifting 5 memberships to the channel. James Harvey asked, what about the West Bank? I'm guessing you posted that before I talked about Jenin. in Tulkarm. Thank you for that question and that prompt, Brother James, because that is an important question. We cannot ignore the West Bank. And we could also look at East Jerusalem. We could look at, there's so many areas outside of Gaza that are being under, that have been under extraordinary pressure and physical attack. Rachel gifted 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And James Harvey gifted 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful for all the generosity, for all the love, for all the support. Rosability said something really interesting, which is that we hardly hear about North Gaza anymore. And it really ebbs and flows, right? There was a period where we heard only about North and Central Gaza and Khan Yunis and Rafah. What was happening at the Rafah border was not being talked about. It really just depends on the week, because so much of the cat and mouse game has been from the Israeli military that we're going to we'll chase people north, right? And we'll create these evacuations, and people started going to the south. And then as people started going to the south, you started seeing, again, in Rafah, in Khan Yunis, you started to see other things happening. I guarantee you, Beit Lahia, Beit Hanun, Beit Suhaila, all northern cities, Jabalia, which we've talked about recently. I think we talked about Jabalia tonight too, but even if we didn't, we will, I promise you. And we'll continue to talk about these cities again as time goes on. Because as they pull people down, you get to Central Gaza, they started hitting hospitals in Central Gaza. Then suddenly it was back to Rafah. It was back to Khan Yunis. And then it was like, they evacuated there. Let's go back to Deir al-Balah, and so forth and so on. So I think the lack of mention is, let me say one more thing. Even when there's not a military invasion of northern Gaza, it's not safe. It's not calm. It's not at peace, because even when there's no military attacks, Northern Gaza has been a centerpiece of famine, of food insecurity, of disease, of dehydration. I mean, we've seen so many awful things happening in the north. So let's just be honest about that too. That this is not. There's no part of Gaza that's not under extraordinary pressure. It's not under extraordinary attack, unprecedented levels of attack. And again, we have to be honest about that. We can never ignore that fact. Anyway, family, thank you for watching the War on Gaza report. I appreciate you all. If you could hit the like button, please do it. If you could hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do it. If you're watching on Twitter, come over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We need the likes and the subscriptions. We need the likes and the subscribers to get hit, because it extends our reach. It expands our footprint. It lets the YouTube algorithms know that we matter to you. Also, hit that join button. If you haven't joined the channel as a monthly member, hit the join button on your desktop. If you're not on the desktop, go in our description. There's a link to join. Becoming a paid member of the channel gives us the financial stability that we need to do the work that we do. If you can't make a monthly commitment, please consider making a one-time payment tonight. Consider it the monthly tuition that we pay for night school, and for office hours, and for the War on Gaza report, and for Coffee and Books, and for the Mumia Abu Jamal podcast. We ask that you just drop something in. So if it's $1, that's amazing. If it's $1 million, it's amazing. If it's anything in the middle, we are grateful. But ideally, if everybody watching right now could donate $10 for the month, for the entire month of content, hundreds of hours of content, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, we could meet all of our financial goals for the month. If everybody watching right now could drop at least $10 in. Again, no amount's too small, no amount's too much. But if everybody watching could do $10 through one of these platforms, we could meet all of our financial goals. So just consider it. But either way, we appreciate you. We love you. And we look forward to seeing you again. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow night. Although I am considering doing a live Q&A. Do y'all want a live Q&A tonight? If y'all want a live Q&A, I might be able to do one right now for a few minutes, man. Let me know what y'all think. Either way, I'll see y'all later. Peace.